Hi, everybody. Pastor Brian Beisel is here in his office in Trinity Lutheran Church just for this week's Bible study video. So I'm going to share a bigger picture of Luke that I've been sharing because it's one comprehensive story. And I'm going to talk about it then, talk about some of the meanings that are hidden there. Not even just hidden, that are pretty much right there for you to see and that we'll experience together. So as we do this, I'm going to read the story and then we'll talk about it. So this is Luke 8, verses 26 to 39. This is Jesus cleansing a man of many demons and doing something really interesting to carry the demons away, to expel them. Something very different than Jesus does anywhere else in Scripture. This story also happens in Mark. There are some differences between Luke's version and Mark's version, but let's get into this. Then they arrived at the country of the Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. As he stepped out on land, a man of the city who had demons met him. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he did not live in a house, but in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he fell down before him and shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you have to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For Jesus had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many times it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds and be driven by the demon into the wilds. Jesus then asked him, "What is your name?" And he responded, "Legion." For many demons had entered him. They begged him to not order them to go back into the abyss. Now there was on the hillside a large herd of swine feeding, and the demons begged Jesus to let them enter these. So he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the swine, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. When the swineherd saw what had happened, they ran off and told it in the city and in the country. Then people came out to see what had happened, and when they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. They were afraid. Those who had seen it told them how the one who had been possessed by demons had been healed. Then all the people of the surrounding country of the Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave them, for they were seized with great fear. So he got into the boat and returned. The man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." So he went away, proclaiming throughout the city how much Jesus had done for him. All right. So this is not a typical response to one of Jesus' healings or one of his miracles. Usually there's an astonishment, but here there's a very distinct reaction by the crowd when they find Jesus. "You've cleansed the crazy man. Now please leave." They're taken by fear. This is very, very clear with Mark's version as well. But where there's a difference here that I find really, really interesting is that here in Luke's version, the demons are said that they beg Jesus to not order them to go back into the abyss. The abyss. Ooh. When you think of the word abyss, you think of a vacuum, of something where there's nothing, of a place of loneliness and solitary confinement and all of these things. When I think of an abyss, I think of just this dark, black existence with nothing around you. When we toured Eastern State Penitentiary with our confirmation class a couple of years ago, we experienced one of the truths of that institution. Eastern State Penitentiary was founded in Philadelphia, I believe in the late 1700s, maybe the early 1800s, and it existed for quite some time. It just closed I think it was the 1950s or 1960s that it closed. And when you were an inmate at Eastern State Penitentiary, they would put you in this solitary existence. And so you had two parts of where you lived. You either had your living quarters, which was like a bench and a bed and a sink, a hole to go to the bathroom in. And then outside of your cell, you had this place that was a yard where you were separate from everybody, but you had this little cubicle where you were standing outside and you could look at the sun. The whole idea behind that was that you were, well, in the name of the institution, it was penitentiary. Penitent. It was to lead people towards repentance, to think about what they had done that got them into that situation. That was the whole idea behind the penitentiary. And it was an abject failure. It didn't work. People were, in fact, driven insane by such confinement. We are naturally social people. It's a lot of what we're going through right now culturally. In a sense, it was like an abyss for them. They're all alone. And these unclean spirits don't want that. So instead, Jesus sends them into pigs. And the pigs run and are drowned. And then the people that own the pigs come up and they're not happy. And that's when people come and see, here is this guy cleansed. What have you done, Jesus? I mean, they've heard about him. Where Jesus is geographically is exactly on the opposite end of the Sea of Galilee from where he has been doing a lot of his work. So they've heard about him, but he's from the other side of the lake. You know, it's a pretty big boundary for that day. We're not told about the severity of this man's condition until after his initial exchange with Jesus. We're told that he had demons, plural. When we see this man, we're told that he's not wearing any clothing. And we're told that he is living in the tombs. So, just so that we're all aware, and I think we're pretty aware of this, that public nakedness would be a great shame. In the Old Testament, Isaiah was intentionally naked for a while because he was upset with what Israel was doing, and he wanted to show them the shame that they were bringing. What I am doing right now is representative to the shame that you're bringing upon the entire nation. It was like a prophetic act. This did not make Isaiah entirely popular. This crazy naked guy, he's wandering all over the place, and he's claiming to speak for God, you know. But here's a guy, and he's not speaking for God. He's speaking for the opposite. He's speaking for the demons. He's speaking for the evil, for the darkness, for the sinfulness, for the brokenness. There's always been something about me that has led me towards broken people. And let me put this also clear. We're all broken people, right? We're all broken people. Not too long ago on my podcast, I did an episode about a man named Wesley Willis. Wesley Willis was a musician of sorts. He was from Chicago, Illinois. He was most active in the 1990s into the early 2000s. Wesley Willis dealt with chronic schizophrenia. He wrote a song, Chronic Schizophrenia. If you ever listen to any Wesley Willis music, you're going to be amazed that people would have purchased such a man's music because it's very repetitive. It's all the same song. He just kind of warbled, and I mean really warbled off key to a keyboard, a Technics keyboard, and he just sung along to the demo. And some people, he gained a following. I think, probably for not the best reasons, because it was kind of like a modern day carnival act. Let's look at the crazy man and laugh. I mean, some of his lyrics are just bizarre. And, you know, when I found him when I was in college because a lot of my fraternity brothers found his music and thought it was silly. And so a fraternity brother of mine and I, we went to see Wesley in concert. It was in a North Star bar in Philadelphia, which doesn't exist anymore. And Wesley, he played, and I noticed two things about him. Number one, when you approached him before he played a show, he headbutted you, but it was not an angry headbutt. It was like a this is my way of making myself closer to you. Could not happen in current times, obviously. The other thing I noticed is this man's his condition, the schizophrenia, the mental disorders. It was a very visceral part of him, and he had visceral reactions on stage that concerned me greatly. And when I talked about him on the podcast, I talked about him, and it was obvious that this was a man who wanted belonging, and we had a system that failed him. This guy that Jesus is talking to is like that. He has demons. We all have demons from time to time. I believe that. And you can take that as literally or as metaphorically as you would like. You ever been in a time when you've been just driven by your anger and you know that you shouldn't be, but yet you are and you can't get out of it? I think we've all been there, right? Is that not like a demon? Demons of jealousy and anger and hostility and vindictiveness and revenge. Revenge, that's a big one in our culture today. Revenge. Get back. Recover what we lost. Hurt those who hurt us. Those are big human things. And we all know people who are kind of on the edges and on the fringes. And it seems to me that Jesus spent far more time with those kinds of people and does great, wonderful, loving things for those people. That should inform how we encounter them too. Now, understand that there are some people with mental disorders and conditions that, you need a professional to handle those. And I'm not suggesting that we go and try to save all of the people who are dealing with schizophrenia and it's out of control. I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying maybe our faith should inform how we look at them and how we see them. Because Jesus sees this man. And Jesus sees this man for a man who has a condition that he can do something about, and so he does it, even when it gets him in trouble. Even when it sends the other townspeople rushing towards him and saying, "Oh no, Jesus, you shouldn't do that. Get out of here now." This herd of swine, the fate of the pigs, it's supposed to show us that justice has prevailed. You probably know this nominally, but in the Jewish culture of Jesus' time, pigs would have been seen as a sign of that which is unclean. A sign of you can't eat pigs. You're not supposed to cook them. You're not supposed to eat pork. That's they're dirty. They're seen as very, very dirty. The drowning of the swine adds a suggestive twist to the story because, again, Luke is writing to a Jewish Christian audience, to a Gentile Christian audience. I said the exact opposite thing of what I meant there. Writing to a Gentile audience who probably would have all known Jewish Christians in the early church. The fate of the pigs is supposed to show that justice was served, but that's not how people take it. They take it to be angry. The man had been delivered from the demon's torment. The unclean herd had been destroyed. The demons had gotten what they wanted, and in the end they were gone along with the pigs. Jesus has outwitted the devil. I wonder what that means for us. Some people take the devil to mean a metaphorical, or a literal guy with a pitchfork and horns. Some people take the devil to be a manifestation of all that is sinfulness and broken around us. I wonder if a part of this for us is about humility. Understanding our brokenness as well. And understanding our place in that we're not really above anybody else. I mean, here's Jesus, the Son of God, and he engages with this man. So if he can do it, maybe we can too. Again, not in a way that puts us in danger, but in other ways that show love and kindness and compassion, especially to those who need it in this time. Because guess what? In the midst of this quarantine, more people are wrestling with their demons ever before. High amounts of depression are being reported, and of course they are, because big parts of our lives have been taken away, and we're all struggling with this reality. We get so angry about so many things. I wonder what it would be like if we forsook that anger for great love. We probably transform how we react to each other and maybe how we see what's going on around us. All right, that's going to end our Bible study for this week. As we depart until next week, live out that love in your lives, everybody. Take care. We'll see you. Thank you.